There's not one problem a garden can't solve. As residents of the great city of Houston, Texas, we enjoy many amenities that cities across the world would be envious of. Despite the many amenities that we enjoy, the poor and the lower economic classes of our great city endure some circumstances that are similar to those of developing countries. One of which is that we have food deserts the size of small towns. For those who may be unfamiliar, a food desert is any area where it's difficult to obtain healthy and fresh produce. Usually it's easy to get tobacco, lottery tickets, alcohol, and a bunch of junk food rather than fresh produce. The majority of our great city is a food desert. The areas in red on these maps represent these food deserts. The map on your left is a correlation between low income levels and low supermarket sales. The map on your right, the areas in red, is the correlation between low income levels and food-related diseases and deaths. As a resident of one of these food deserts, I've come to find out that there are a lot of other problems that exist in these areas rather than just the food distribution system. One of which is that you have a lack of, an abundance of unscrupulous activity. And if you talk to anybody who does this type of activity, legal or illegal, they'll tell you that I'm just trying to feed my family. I'm just trying to put food on the table. Or simply, I'm just trying to get this bread. Another problem is that we have abundance of vacant lots in these areas. And vacant lots are a magnet for urban gentrification, which comes in and straight obliterates anything good that could have existed. History, culture, you name it, it's gone. We have homelessness and a city government that has chosen to restrict how we feed our homeless. We also have joblessness and lack of job training. But I believe that I have a vision that can solve each and every one of these problems. It's called the living grocery store. However, to be able to accept the living grocery store as a solution to these problems in our food deserts, you have to understand more about what other problems exist in our food distribution system. Approximately almost 40% of all food in the United States is thrown in the trash. Yes, that's almost half. This happens because the majority of our food travels more than 1,500 miles before it's available for purchase. To be able to endure that journey, the food is picked a month before it reaches your grocery store shelves. And it's before it actually ripens. So any nutritionist will tell you that to get the peak nutritional value of a given fruit or vegetable, it must be allowed to ripen on the plant in which it grows. So with these factors, we wonder why our food tastes like plastic. Like I said, the living grocery store will solve all of these problems. The living grocery store started as a program in our first community garden called the Marcus Garvey Liberation Garden. We had one day a week where people could come out and purchase food directly from our garden. The special thing about this is that we didn't pick anything until someone arrived. So they had healthy food. The food was allowed to ripen on the given plant in which it grows. People loved it. They demanded more, and we wanted to do more. So we tweaked our motto of the living grocery store, and we made what we called the mobile living grocery store. In the mobile living grocery store, we set up at different healthy food outlets, community centers in our neighborhood just to distribute fresh and healthy food. We also started to work with local distributors so we could have or be able to supply things that don't grow prominently in our area, like avocados, bananas, and pineapples. Once again, people loved it. But we ran into some issues, one of which we made absolutely no money. The second being that trying to grow food in 100-degree Houston heat, we started to waste food. We didn't want that. Another thing is that the more that we sold food was less time we spent growing food. So we had to rethink it. We had to retreat. And in our retreat, we started to think about this grand vision of what the living grocery store actually should be. So we would take lots like this, and this, and this, which all exists on one city block immediately across the street from my home. Instead of redeveloping this lot into $400,000 and $500,000 homes, we had a vision to where we could, at the very front of that block, you would see a small, very intimate grocery store front, one of the most environmentally friendly buildings you can think of. And you'll come in and you'll get your different dry goods, your few refrigerated items and some toiletries, and then you'll go to the back door and you'll walk into the most elaborate urban farm that you can think of, complete with traditional and alternative growing methods, all known to man. The wonderful thing about this is that people will not only now know where their food grows at, but they'll also be able to have the opportunity to pick the food themselves. The benefits are numerous. The main purpose of the living grocery store is to eliminate the distance between the farm and the grocery store. By doing this, we have less pollution because our food is no longer traveling 1,500 miles before it's available to us. We have healthier citizens. A lot of people don't know that 40 minutes of gardening activities is also equivalent to 20 minutes of aerobic exercise. And once you finish, you have the capacity to eat this wonderful and most nutritionally dense food item. We'll have less unscrupulous activity because people are not as worried about where their next meal is coming from. We'll have more jobs, more job training, and less food waste because food is not being picked until it's ready to be eaten by the given consumer. As a part of the living grocery store, we can also have what we call the medicinal garden, to where we can grow pharmaceutical-grade herbs to be able to not only cure preventable and diet-related diseases, but also help us with certain natural body functions that we endure every day. So you know how we walk around with these smartphones with an app for this and an app for that? Well, high cholesterol, I got a plant for that. Diabetes, I got a plant for that. Hypertension, I got a plant for that. Even PMS and menopausal symptoms, I got a plant for that. With the living grocery store, we can start to change how or increase the performance in different math and sciences by these children who grow up in these deserts. So now they can take these theories off the class boards and off the computer and they can put them to work in the farm. Not to mention that a child with a healthier diet, a more nutritionally dense diet, and less processed foods has a better mental capacities. The community pride of these giving food deserts will shoot through the roof. Who doesn't love a community that gets random visits from monarch butterflies? One of the most important things is that the living grocery store will be able to give us emergency preparedness. In hurricane country, why make a run on your grocery store when your community is the grocery store? When I start to talk about gardening and farming, people start to ask me, well, how does a 27-year-old become passionate about gardening? Isn't that something old people do? Well, I tell them that gardening is something wise people do that want to stay young. Then they will start to ask me, well, what led you to gardening? What did you do before you started growing food? And I tell them that I'm an accountant by trade. I get even more crazy looks. As an accountant, I once worked for an oil and gas company. And these oil and gas companies do not pay for oil. Natural resources are free. They pay for the capacity to extract and manufacture and refine these given products, but the actual oil is free. So I was like, man, I need to get in the business of dealing with natural resources. The only way I could find to deal with natural resources is through gardening. Through gardening, we demonstrate the importance of planning. We demonstrate the importance of creating value of the land in which we live on, not to mention the trace elements needed to produce collard greens are free. With the living grocery store, we can change the culture of a given community from consumerism, and they will become producers. With the true local food distribution system, we can heal the sick, feed the needy, employ the jobless, house the homeless, you name it. And it's important to realize that the living grocery store is just not a fiction of my imagination. The living grocery store is in your front yards, it's in your backyards, it's on that windowsill of herbs, on that porch and patio of potted plants. Every time you go and pick, I'm smiling from ear to ear. On this campus, in 1962, the great JFK made his pledge to take us to space. Today, I pledge to bring us back to Earth. So when you start thinking about all of these prevalent but yet overlooked problems of your given community, remember the industrial race, the arms race, the space race are all over. The only country, city, state, territory that stands a chance to have a prosperous future is the same place that will win the green race. A localized food economy is how we can win that race. So, when you go home and you want to think about how to change something, use food as your weapon. Please use living food as your weapon. Thank you.